everyone, welcome back to Sweet Yellow House. I am recording from here and up here so you can see what I'm doing. Today I'm going over 20 of my favorite crafting items that I use, whether they be tools or products, and I'm just going to go over like maybe some of the with some of the items, like out of the ordinary things that I use them for. I apologize for my hair or whatever. I had a very long weekend with a lot of activities, birthday parties and such, and today is my wind down day. But I decided to get this video done because with a lot more views that we've had, and I've had a lot more comments and people asking questions about the things that I use, so I just thought that I would come on and make this video for this week and go over some of the tools. Let's get started because I have a lot to cover. The first thing that I have is silicone mats, and these mats I actually use. These are from a nail supply company. They do like nail art and stuff like that, and I started using these when I was doing nails a while back. I am a nail technician. I do have my license, and so I used to use these mats, but they come in handy for all kinds of things. So you can actually use these if you do like resin crafts and things like that, because everything just kind of peels off of this. These are also really great. I actually have very many of these, quite a bit of these, and I actually will cut them up into pieces and actually use them when I'm making jewelry and stuff, because I don't need a big mat. Also too, like sometimes if I'm doing multiple projects, I'll just put it on like a little card, and then that way I'm able to slip it in there, and then, you know, have different projects going on. You can use it directly right on a big mat if you have that kind of surface, but for me, a lot of times if I'm at my other desk, I will just use these little kind of cards. That way I'm working on one thing's in the lamp I'm working on, and then that way I can just kind of switch in and out. But that was item one. Also glue gun. They're a really great glue gun mat because the glue just peels right off of that if you get it all over, and if you use a glue gun, you know that stuff has a tendency to get everywhere. So the next thing I have are actually these little silicone muffin cups here, and the reason that I like these are actually because the paint will just pop right out of these. See, they'll just peel right off. Also too, I like them because you can actually wash them out. They're heat resistant. A lot of times I'll use like these little cups here, and these are really fine and great, but if you're somebody that's trying to reduce your waste, you might want to consider going into these cups here. These things are super versatile. You can use them, like I said, for paint. You can use them to put your glue in. See, the glue they'll just peel right out, so you can use them over and over and over again, which is a really great thing. You can use them to mix resin in because you can squeeze them to pour. They're really great for that. Also too, if you're doing resin and you need to heat it to get bubbles out, or even just to thin it a little bit, you're not going to melt this container. I've melted several of these heating my my resin or doing stuff like that, and it's not a good look. So these are really great, like I said, because the paint will just peel out of them, or glue or resin will just peel out of them, and then you can just use them over and over again. And my number three, and this is probably, I get the most questions about this, are the syringes that I use. And these syringes I've actually gotten from Amazon, and I do get the tips as well from Amazon. This is a 14 gauge I believe, and I got these from Amazon. I do have a couple of other ones, different ones. A lot of times this 14 gauge is a really good gauge because it's thick enough, or you know, the opening is big enough that it lets the glue run through there really well, or resin or anything that I'm using it with. This one here is nice and long, and I will use it occasionally, but it is harder to get through there because the opening is quite a bit smaller. So, and all you do with these is that you just take off this and you can actually screw that on and then, you know, use that to stick through there. So I will put all kinds of stuff in here. If you've seen any of my videos, you've seen me do it a lot of times where I usually use this with glue. If I have a fine mold that I need to get detail or resin into, and if you're using that really fast setup resin, you know you need to get it in there. And a lot of times if you're trying to find, you know, fine pour something, it's really hard because that stuff starts thickening up on you. So I usually will just use this. I'll draw the glue, or if I'm filling it with glue, I'll take it off and I'll fill it from the top, and that's just easier for me. But if I'm doing resin, then I'll just kind of put my, you know, and do this here. The great thing about these is that you could actually take the tip off when you're done. If you still have glue in there, put this back on. I usually will put it in a Ziploc bag just to keep the air out of it, and then you can wash these out and reuse them. The syringes I will actually have on my website in a pack of 10. So the next one that I have is a heat gun and embossing gun. So a lot of people don't know the difference between the two, and I do use them for separate things. And I will tell you now what I use them. They're both really good for drying paint. You know, if you're trying to dry paint on something, I will say that I will use the heat gun. I prefer to use a heat gun if I'm doing something with resin. And the reason that I don't like to use the embossing gun, I will use it, but I don't particularly like to use it, is because it blows that resin around, because this actually blows air out. So I will tend to use the heat gun versus the embossing gun when I'm using resin. But if I'm drying paint or anything like that, I will tend to use either or, whatever I have on hand. This gets a lot hotter than the embossing gun. I mean, this obviously is a lot bigger. The embossing gun essentially was developed for, you know, embossing powders and stuff for people that do card making and stuff like that. You can emboss with this as well, but like I said, you need to be a lot more careful because this will burn. It will burn, it will bubble your paint, it will you know, kind of burn whatever you got going on. And that's also too a lot of the reason why I like using the silicone mats or the silicone cups or things like that when I'm doing resin, because it can handle that heat a lot better than a plastic anything. So. Number 5 is my paint sticks, and I have my paints. These are all DIY paints here, and so every time I get a new DIY paint, I will get a paint tongue depressor or this large stick, and I'll put the name on it and I'll actually paint this. The reason that I like this is because anybody that uses DIY paint, or a lot of other paints as well, it looks very different in the pot. If you're using chalk paint or milk paint, or it's very rare that a paint will look the same in the pot or in a can than, you know, when it's dry. So this actually allows me to see what the end result is actually going to be like, how light it's going to turn, or if it tends to be a different, you know, sometimes things just turn out a different color altogether and you're just like, wow, where did that come from? So and also too, I will usually make about 2 of these, you know, 3 color. I'll use 1 color on 3 sticks. So one I'll do normal, The other one I'll do maybe with a white wax on it, just to kind of get that idea. And then one I'll do with a sealer, just so I can see what it's going to darken up to. I have a hard time picking colors because I just feel like, you know, I have so many favorites. It's hard. It's really hard to pick for me. So sometimes I have to get, you know, several sticks out, and then I just go through and I'm like, okay, well, I don't really want a mint, so let me take that out. Okay, now let me kind of look there. And it just makes the job a lot easier for me. So number 6 is plastic wrap and wax paper. These are my go-to for decoupaging. Plastic wrap, you know, you can kind of clump together and have that kind of to push down on your project. Wax paper is actually my new thing that I really like to do. I actually like to tear off a piece, put it on top. And I think for me, because I'm so used to kind of getting that down, if you lay a piece of wax paper over it, you're able to hold that and then just actually push and kind of, you know, get it down. And it just makes getting the air bubbles and stuff like that out better for me. It just works for me. I don't know for anybody else, but for me, this is, I really like this. Also too, if you have, you know, glue that comes out because you're putting the shiny side down of this wax paper or the freezer paper, it's not going to stick to it. It's going to come off. So I don't have to worry about that kind of thing. That's kind of self-explanatory. You know, freezer paper also has so many other great things that you can use it for. If you have fabric, if you're somebody that works with fabric a lot, if you make patterns or things like that, you can actually cut this and then iron it down on your fabric, and then you can, you know, draw stencils on here and then cut those out. A lot of people don't know that. If you're not like a quilt maker or whatever, then, you know, you can actually make stencils out of these as well. And then even if you cut your stencils out first and then iron it down, and then you can, you know, then draw on your item. So it's a really great all-around tool, especially if you're somebody that works with fabrics or even felt or things like that. It just kind of it's very versatile. Let's see, and number 7 is squeeze bottles. So this is another one that I get asked questions a lot about, and these squeeze bottles are really great. I usually use this one, and you can get this in a set off Amazon. Anything that I show that I tell you I get off Amazon, I'll actually link it below. I'll put the link for it. Or if they don't have it specifically what I'm using, I'll actually find something that's comparable. But I get these. I really like them because they have a really secure top. You're not going to get any of that kind of like squeezing it. You know, I love it when you get like some of the cheaper bottles when you squeeze them and then stuff comes out of the lid here. But these are sealed, and they come with a little top and they click on. But these, then you can just cut off, you know, here what you want when you're ready to use it. I have so many different ones. I have, you know, one that I put stain in, and I have some that I always have my big top in one. I always have, you know, one with alcohol to clean stuff off. Like this red top, like I said, it clicks on, so you don't have to worry about your product drying out inside. This one here is actually, it's actually like a candy one. But the reason why I like this too is that you can actually, the bigger top, it comes off here, but then you could also take this top off. You can actually use this with a cake tip that you do cake decorating with, you could actually put it in here, put that on there, and then if you had any kind of like puff paint, or like you have like, if you're using some like embossing gel or anything like that, that you are gonna, you know, kind of, that you want to draw with and make like 3D kind of raised things with, you can use this, and this is really great. Let's see, number 8 is my paper cutter, and you've seen me use this a few times. I like this because it makes it really easy to cut out, you know, backings or pictures, or cutting papers down to size or anything like that. I like it because it has the extended arm on it, so you can measure up to 15 inches across here. The blade on this is actually comes out, so you can change these out, but it works really well. You can measure it. They actually have a lock here, so this doesn't flip open if you don't need it to. But again, like if you didn't need all of that extension and you just needed something for kind of smaller here, you can do that. And this actually cuts really well. It cuts a really nice, you know, if you had a couple of papers here. I use this all the time. And it's small enough that I can actually drag it around with me if I need to. And it's pretty sturdy. I think I've had this one probably for about 5 or 6 years. I've had it for a while. The only thing I do, like I said, is I'll change the blade on this, and you can get those at anywhere really. So number 9, this is, everybody has one of these. I've actually had this bottle before they actually became popular and everybody started using them, you know, for painting and things like that. I purchased this actually upwards of maybe, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago. But I used to use this for, because a lot of people don't know this too, but I'm an esthetician. I have my esthetician license, so I used to use this for facials, for misting, you know, because you never want to really like squirt somebody in the face. You just want a really fine mist. So it comes in handy. I actually got this from the beauty supply store, so if you are able to get one there, and I don't think it was very expensive. I actually think it was pretty cheap. It was like $5 or $6 maybe. So, and this is a bigger one. This is a really great item, and it comes in handy for a lot of different stuff. It even really comes in handy if you're using it for personal care, like, you know, if you want to mist your own. A lot of times, even when I'm out in the garage, I'll mist myself if it's hot out there. So it's just a really great item, you know, of course, if you're, you know, painting or doing crafts and stuff like that. So everybody has one of these nowadays, and they come in handy. And one that I have is a brush. These are brush holders, and again, this is another nail nail art tool. And the reason that I really love these is because you can actually use these. I always try to keep these because I am the worst at just setting my brush down, and then I get paint all over everything, and then it rolls off or whatever. But this is really nice because you can put your brush down and it's going to hold it in place. It's going to keep that tip of that brush off of there. I don't know how many times I've actually had my brush like roll off somewhere or whatever and gotten paint or on the floor, and then of course then your paintbrush picks up all the dirt and the crumbs and the, you know, this just kind of keeps my brushes all in order. And the great thing is that you can set, you know, your brushes, several of them up here, so if you want to switch back and forth, if you're using a couple of different brushes on an item, These will actually hold bigger brushes as well, which makes them really great. So if you had a couple of bigger brushes that you wanted to put on there instead of laying them down on your surface, it makes it really great. Even the other thing is like little sanding blocks. I actually have these little sanding blocks here, and these actually came again from the nail supply. They're just little sanding blocks, but they're really nice when you're just getting into like a small project and you don't need anything big. They come in a really huge supply. I actually will have these on my website as well in a pack for sale. And I like these. They're enough. They're not so rough that they're just gonna totally, you know, mess up your project. But they're enough that you can, you know, if you wanted to distress something, or if you wanted to just kind of like sand a little rough piece of something down, and you can kind of get into those small little spaces. So I really like those. Another thing that I really use is I use Emery boards, and a lot of times I'll get these just even from the dollar store. I know a lot of people have commented about my using small paintbrushes, but that's because it works for me. If I have a really heavy paintbrush or a bigger paintbrush or something, I just can't do it. My hand gets fatigued, or if I have to stretch my hand out further to accommodate for that bigger brush, or if I am painting something like where I need to obviously use a waxing, if I'm, you know, have a big brush that I'm waxing with, that's one thing, because I'm not doing a whole lot of painting with. But a lot of people say, oh, well, it's faster, or this. Well, yes, I understand that, but if it's going to cause me pain to use it, I'm not going to use it. So I need to use the things that I'm comfortable using and that I can kind of manipulate better than, you know, a big wielding brush. So I appreciate the thought and like the concern about it, but that's the reason why I use smaller paintbrushes. They just work better for me. They don't wear my hand out. I don't feel like I'm my hand cramps and things like that. So that's just, I'm not doing it because, you know, I like taking 10 hours to paint something. Although it doesn't take me that long, I'm not going to obviously paint a dresser with a small paintbrush, but, you know, I don't paint things that are that huge that I really need to have huge paintbrushes for. So thank you for the concern, but that's my reason. It works for me, so that's what I use. So so this is number 11, and number 12 for me is UV resin. This is the UV resin that I use, and I use this with the lamp, and these are actually for nail, you know, like gel nails and stuff like that. And I believe you could get the lamps. They're not very expensive. You could even use like a UV or like a, you know, like a LED flashlight. You can cure it, but these you could get for like $14-15. So the reason that I like using resin, the UV resin, and you've seen me do these on use this on solid pots. So if I have a metal pot or something like that that has holes, or even if I'm trying to kind of fill a hole or something that's not so easy to fill with you know, clay, or like if I'm doing it on a ceramic piece or something like that, this comes in really handy. It's really strong. It sets up really fast. Within, you could actually fill something, you know, put the light on it for 5 seconds, and then, you know, take whatever pressure away. You don't have to kind of hold it there. So this is not just good for making, you know, like resin jewelry or anything like that, but it's also really good for you know, kind of mending things, fixing things. I also really love it for, you could actually coat stuff with this. So this actually looks like a ceramic piece. So you can coat the top of something with this and put this under the light, and it'll look like glass, or it'll look like ceramic as well. So this is very handy. If you haven't tried it, try it. You can get this off Amazon. I believe I've seen where they're really selling a lot more resin, UV resin type crafting stuff at Michael's and Hobby Lobby, so you can get it there if you wanted to try it out. You don't have to buy a bottle this big. Usually they're smaller. So number 13 is my small little manual drill type, and I have a couple of them here, and this is also one that I started using back in my nail days, and you can see this is the one that I had here. This one, way back long ago, remember when they would drill a hole and have a little charm hanging off? That's where this came from. But these actually can be used too with resin to drill holes and things, like on top of something if you're putting an eye hook in there for like a keychain. You've seen me use this to drill holes in you know, the edge of like little thin wood pieces, things like that. So anything that you kind of like need to drill a hole in, that's not like, you know, majorly hard to do. And the great thing is that you can buy these with all kinds of little bits. So even from this big to something really this tiny, I mean, it goes really down tiny. So I like to have this because if I just need something quick. And the next one that I have are these pump bottles. If you see here, I really like these because I have alcohol in this, and this is the one that I actually keep on my resin table as well. And the way that these work, and you could put anything in there. I mean, you know, I've had nail polish remover because this is back from my nail days again, but these are really good when I can just pump the top of it and then go in and wipe my resin piece from alcohol. It's really great too because you can, you know, kind of just do a little and wet your paper towel. You can even use them if you want to put, you could put anything in them. You can even put glass cleaner in them. You could put whatever it is, the kind of liquid things that you use at your little craft station or whatever. This is really good for that. Even if you wanted to put, you know, like Goo Gone in it because you use it to, you know, take tags off or whatever. This is just a really nice one-handed when you have your hand on one project, and you know, you can just pump this with the other. And is actually a very small drill, and this one is an electric drill. It's rechargeable, but I really like this. I think my dad got me this for Christmas one year, but it's smaller. It just, you know, you can use kind of like any kind of bit, even if they fit your bigger drill and stuff. You can just put it down in there and, you know, have that. But I like this because it doesn't take up a lot of room in my craft room inside, and then I have my bigger drill actually outside in my space in the garage. And then that way too, that is bigger. The bigger drill is available there for, you know, my husband and my kids when they want to, or they need it for a project. I am one of those people that I don't like to be hunting for stuff, and I don't like people coming into my craft space and taking stuff out of here, because, you know, you come in here to work and do your stuff, and then next thing you know, you're walking around the house for 3 hours looking for things that other people took out and didn't tell you and didn't put back. So that's my pet peeve, and that's why I tend to have, you know, 2 sets of tools, so that way I don't have to be walking back and forth, and everything is available out there. So when I come in here, I can get down to business and I don't have to look for stuff. So this is a nice little addition. I use this for everything. Taking, you know, picture hangers off if they're screwed in, or taking things apart really quickly, so that I can get into paint and it's not a big heavy thing and I don't have to really worry about it. It works quick, it's rechargeable. And this one is from Black & Decker. I don't even know where he got this from. I would assume you could get it offline, but it's like perfectly small and little for my hands, and it's you know, it makes quick work of it. And actually it stays charged for a long time. I don't even think I've recharged it for several months. I mean, I don't use it all the time, but you know, it holds a charge really well. And this was a Christmas present from my dad. So also too, because he knows that those bigger drills are really hard for me to handle, and so he just kind of helped me out with this, and I'm super thankful. So the next one is, I have, to me these kind of go hand in hand, but I have these two items. And this is actually a staple remover, which is really great, especially when you're taking apart those pictures and it has 105 staples in the back of it. This kind of saves your hands, and I really like that. This is actually a, it puts these little, I don't even know what they call what they're called, but these actually will go into a back of a picture. And you know, you can push it in to hold that picture in. I want to say it's called like a glazing points. I could be wrong, but I think that's what they call it, glazing points. And so I know sometimes it's you know, when you have to push these in when they don't have those staples that you kind of bend back and forth. This is actually so that you could push it and keep that item held into whatever frame. This is really nice. I just got this because I was constantly like taping the backs in, and then it would look really ugly. You know, and especially if you're reselling, you don't want to sell something like that. It just doesn't look nice. It doesn't look finished. So I purchased this from Amazon. I will link this as well, and it just really makes easy work of getting those pictures to stay in. It looks professional, it doesn't cost a lot of money, and it's easy to do, and that's what I like. So, and then I believe I got this on Amazon as well, and this is just, like I said, like a staple remover of getting all those staples out. I think I've shown you guys a few times when I've gone to like take old pictures out of frames, and they just have like 5,001 staples in there. I'm like, what are you holding in there? It's just like a piece of paper. It doesn't require all that, but sometimes that's what you get. So this actually makes it really easy. And of course, we all know that we love these clips. I have these clips from the dollar store. I have two different sizes. I really love these, but I think I kind of like these better. I like these little bit bigger ones. And you know, mine have seen better days, but I've had them for a while, and I really like them. They just do the job. They hold everything really well. They do have like they have a good force on there to keep things clamped down, but not so much that it's hard to get them open. At least for me, I have some clamps that I keep out in the garage. I don't use them because there's no way on the planet I can even have enough hand strength to unclamp them, to open them enough to get them on anything. It's like, you know, trying to struggle to get them even open. And number 18 are my palette knives. I have these two. I originally purchased these from an art store, and you can get these. They usually sell these particular ones like where they sell like paint brushes, like professional paint brushes, and I really like these because especially when you're working with plaster or even Paper clay, I use these sometimes, and they do a really good job with scraping off, you know, the excess when you're doing paper clay and using molds. They're good for spreading. They're really flexible and bendable. I like these two sizes because even this one, if I can get into a small corner or anything like that, and they just the flexibility and the fact that they're really thin, you know, so they kind of just glide through that paper clay really well without kind of dragging it along. It just kind of cuts through it, so you're not, sometimes, you know, when you're trying to scrape off the excess, it ends up pulling it out. I haven't had that issue with these, and these just work really well. They also work really well if you're mixing paint, or if you're you know, mixing any kind of medium, like you know, gel medium into your paints or anything like. They're really good for a lot of different things, and you can just use them in every kind of craft that, you know, you might be doing and stuff. So okay, we're almost done. We're almost done. Just hang in there with me a little bit more. So number 19, I have this little guy, which I really like, and I should have put him in with my drills, but I didn't. I just found him over here in my pile. So, but with him, he's really great. I got him at Harbor Freight. Him, her, I don't know. But the great thing about this is that this is for like those really fine screws, or anything kind of small like that. They come double-ended. If you look at this, I'm going to zoom in so you can kind of see. But they have different sizes here. You get 4 little double-ended, and it stays, these actually stay in the little cap of this so that you don't lose them. I want to say I only paid like $8 for this, and I've used it tons and tons of times. The next thing are paper punches, tag punches, and this would fall under one of the things that you don't ever see me use. You make like little tags and stuff for you know, to hang off of your items. And I know sometimes, you know, everybody like cuts things out and all of that, but this actually, I like this because I can actually you know, cut things out and then cut them all out ahead of time really quickly and be able to just make a bunch of little tags all at one time. And these I use to either make tags for gifts or make tags for you know, to use to price my items, and they just come like that. You can punch a hole in it. This one does that, and it already has a hole in it, or you could do that and then put it, I don't know if I can, there we go. You know, these are just really great because also too, if you look at it very closely, you can get 3 different size tags in there. So I use these a lot. I usually will just keep these you know, in my area where like I wrap stuff or stuff. So, and then my last item that I have, oh no, I have one more, so it's more than 20. I think I'm looking at what, 22 items. But this is the next one. These are the clickable stamps. You've seen me use these a few times, actually even stamping in paper clay on some of my little pots that I made. I stamped right into the paper clay with these. But this I really like because you can spell out everything, you know, and make words. I have uppercase, and then I also have lowercase here. They sell different, like they have these that are like cursive. These are a little bit different type of stamp, but they're basically the same type of concept. And then you know, they have letters and things like that. But I have my the name of my business, Sweet Yellow House, here. And what I do to kind of recycle like old pieces of ribbon that come off of stuff, like, you know, when you get like linens and they have like pieces of ribbon wrapping it, I just actually cut those apart, and then I use a hole punch and I put an eyelet in there, and then I stamp my name on there. And then you can use these and use them to hang off your items, if you know. And these are just, like I said, pieces of ribbon that I cut up that came off of like sheets or placemats, or, you know, you guys have seen that where they wrap them with this kind of ribbon there, and all the different kinds. So this is a really great way to recycle, even if you have old ribbon or old pieces of like odd and end fabric. But I really like this because it's fabric, and when you add a fabric piece of like tag or something, it really looks custom, and these stamps make it possible. My last item, and I swear it's my last item, is, y'all have seen me use this, and this is actually a fondant. It is I want it like a fondant duster, and this is actually, you're supposed to put like cornstarch in there. I think that's what you use to do fondant, but I like this because I actually can use this to dust my molds with, and instead of like a lot of times, you know, you get a brush and you're back and forth and back and forth, this you could actually just, you know, really quickly, and you're done, and you just, you know, bump off your excess. So when I have to do a lot of molds and stuff like that, I'm just tired of dealing with a brush going in and out, I use this. It's fast, and it's refillable, so you just take this top off here, and you can put your cornstarch or flour or whatever you're using there, and then put the top on, and then just use that to powder. I keep it on this little tiny plastic plate with my scraper so that it's readily available, and then whatever's loose, I could always use that to pour right back in there, so I'm not really ever wasting a whole bunch of that. But I just keep it together so that way I don't have to go and look for stuff. This is made by Wilton, which you know makes like cake decorating stuff, and I got this at Hobby Lobby as well. This is not very expensive, but if you're somebody that you know use a lot of molds all the time, and you know, like dusting those things gets a little daunting at times, especially when you're doing it all day, you know, long to work on a bigger project, this is a fast way to do it. So those are all my tools, and you know, as crafters, we're always like coming across new things to use in different ways. Let me know some of your tools. Turn me on to those, because you know, as crafters, maybe you use something that I'm not aware of that I might like to try out. So please message me and let me know if you have something that you think that I would like to try. I would really like to hear from you. Also too, I don't know, anybody that's been kind of watching my channel for a while, you can see that my videos and subscribers and have just gone through the roof. So thank you so much. I appreciate it just wholeheartedly. I have been doing this for a little while, and it's just now starting to take off, and I just appreciate y'all so much sharing it and just being encouraging, and it's overwhelming to know that the community, the crafting community, and the people that just love crafts, even if you don't craft but you love to watch it, I've been there as well, that it's always so supportive, and just it warms my heart to hear when people say that I'm you know, encouraging them, or I'm inspiring them. That's the biggest compliment that anybody could ever give to me, at least. So I really do appreciate it. Thank you for spending your time with me, and I will see you soon.